Spoiler alert, the following podcast includes discussions on film that may potentially, intentionally or inadvertently, reveal plot twists, character traits, story details, up to and including endings that might otherwise be considered spoilers. Proceed at your own risk.
You're listening to Moviesucktastic.
Satan, get thee behind me! These city women are goddamn crazy. All that.
It all sounds like some bad movie.
Moviesucktastic is a podcast about bad movies and the people that love them. But it's more than just a podcast, it's also an online presence. If you want to know more about Moviesucktastic or want to become a part of Moviesucktastic, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Twitter at Moviesucktastic, you can find our blog at boothreviews.blogspot.com, or if you want to give your own reviews that we might use on the show, you can go to reviews.moviesucktastic.com and check out our own little lunch.com community for Moviesucktastic. Check us out and become a part of the show, because the only thing more fun than a bad movie is sharing it.
You're listening to Moviesucktastic.
You can all go fuck yourselves.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live! Fucking thing sucks!
I can never get tired of that opening.
No, never.
It's so good.
I agree.
Hi, I'm Noel.
Yeah, he's Noel. Just so anyone that may not know, we're going to show something called Video Armageddon in the background of this episode.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll even pick up where we left off next week, because I planned the show during all these reviews we do for the month of October. We're doing a lot of horror films for Halloween. I plan on showing these. It's Video Armageddon 1 and 2, Lost Video Mixtape Collection, Volume 1 through 7. Really fun stuff. If you haven't seen them, highly recommend getting them. Find them in the interwebs. It's not hard.
Not at all.
So how you doing, mister?
I'm okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, what a day. Today was and you know what? I've been dealing with work for the last 2.5 hours. Tomorrow's going to be a day, too.
Every day's a day.
And it's fucking Friday. Oh, man. My morning is going to be spent picking IT shrapnel out of my brain. Jesus Christ. And my morning ritual on Fridays is to edit the show and upload it. But I have work instead. Work gets in the way of my fun.
Stupid work.
Stupid work. So what we plan to do for the month of October is we plan to do kind of like a mix mash of movies we're trying to watch, or at least I've successfully so far, I'm sure you have as well, watching movies that we have but have never seen.
That's my goal. Yeah, I've been doing pretty good so far.
Yeah, so the two movies that I'm bringing to the table tonight, I've had them, never seen them.
And it's like, I know, like at this point every Halloween it's like, all right, Saw marathon. I'm like, yeah, I know the movies inside and out. It's almost and,
oh yeah.
Even, I mean, the only franchise I haven't done a marathon on yet, as far as like reminiscing, is Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh really?
I did Friday the 13th in a weekend a couple years ago, and I did most of the Halloweens last year. I still have like the last two to do.
You should do Saw when the new Saw film comes out.
Oh, duh! But that's next year. So
it is next Halloween, right?
That's what you told me.
Okay.
Or somebody told me.
Well, no, I did tell you.
Yeah, it's 2017.
It's slated for that.
Yeah, and it's got to come out Halloween.
Oh yeah, there's Saw. Well, what was their whole tagline? It's not Halloween unless it's Saw,
right?
Or something along those lines.
Because it was.
Yeah.
And now that Paranormal Activity's finally fucking burned out, only took God. 6 films.
You know what? It was burnt out after the second film.
Second film I was okay with. Third one, I mean, second film I was like, all right, I see what you're doing, whatever. Third had some new stuff that was like, okay, they're still trying to do something new. Everything after 3 was just, you're not even doing anything new.
Yeah.
You're just doing the same thing, and it's like a film that got its start because it was a low budget horror film, and the biggest thing they had to offer, like going forward, was better special effects. It's like, that defeats the purpose. That's not what it was about, you jackass.
Right.
So they're using CGI in the 4th one, and then the 5th one they don't even call. Was it? Yeah, I think the 5th one they don't even call it 5, and then the next one they call it 5. Like, yeah, that one didn't happen because there were Mexicans in it, and it's just really fucked how they handle the whole series, and they try to fold it in on itself, and the last one was just amazingly god awful.
Yeah, amazingly.
It's you know what it is? It's almost like it was worse that they tried to like continue the story and put more background to it. It would have been better if it just been, oh look, it's a new family and a new thing, but they're still using cameras. It would have been, if they had did like, okay, it's like VHS, but it's a whole episode.
Right.
It's just one movie. That would have been probably easier to handle than okay, here's where the cult came from. I don't care.
You know what? I was just thinking this now because there's a scene from the movie Slugs on right now, and I actually just got that movie.
Yeah, me too. Just got a copy of that. Yeah.
Which, hey, you never know. I might be reviewing that soon. Because I've never seen it. But what's funny is I'm watching we have the video Armageddon, and there's easily upwards of 50 plus movies from clips in this, and I'm just like, wow, we might get flagged 50 times because these clips are just long enough. They're just long enough for YouTube to totally. It's like, yeah, you've been flagged by like 14 different film companies. Shit. But the thing with Saw, and I know we're not reviewing that, and just end it real quick.
No, go for it.
The thing with Saw is each film that came out, it was not an anthology, but it was a continuation of the story, and it did it in such a way that when each film came out, each one made more money than the last up until around Saw 5. I think it started to trail off a little bit. But you know what? There was only 2 more movies after that anyway, and they went out with a bang, And
I don't think the quality diminished.
It did not. You are correct.
No.
Which is very important. A lot of people will like to shit on Saw, A lot of people like to shit on it, but it's like, you know what? Tell me from movie 1 to movie 7 where the quality dropped. It actually got better.
Part 2.
You thought the second? Well,
Right.
I guess so, with
Well,
Donnie Wahlberg and.
No. Here's the only thing. It's if you watch the film, if you do the marathon, the first film is like great. You know, it was a low budget film. It took off. Everybody loved it. You can tell with the second film, it was like, oh, hey, we should do a sequel. You know, it was like we didn't plan for this. By the time they made the third film, you can tell they've got a plan for it.
Yeah.
And they're thinking ahead. Yeah, they're setting up. So, okay, if we go further, so by the time you get to episode 4, they're already thinking 3 films ahead. They're already looking at 7.
Yeah, and it was amazing. Not to give anything away because we won't, but it's amazing. Like after the things that happened in Saw 3, you're like, they made 4 more movies after that, and they were able to do it convincingly.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Maybe I will write that Saw book before the next one comes out. I'm just surprised there's not a book on the Saw films.
You only got a year.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm just nobody's written a book on the Saw films.
We might get flagged for nudity. There's a lot. I forget just how much nudity is in this video Armageddon.
Like they're gonna flag us for something. Doesn't matter.
I mean, there's like hardcore pornography at one point. There's that whole duck thing. Hardcore porn.
Yeah, that was a good choice, Joey.
It is a good choice.
So we're both bringing 2 horror films to the table, and we're just gonna that we've just seen recently, and that we haven't seen before, and we're just gonna talk about them. And even if the other person hasn't seen it, we're gonna go into it. So, do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first.
All right.
Well, one of the films that I have had for 8 years, I've had it for that long, and I never saw it, was the film Pontypool.
Oh yeah.
Which is based on a novel, which I actually did not. I didn't have time to bring up all of the stuff about it, but it was based on a novel.
It's called Pontypool Changes Everything. It's the name of the book.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, I haven't read it. It's on my to-read list, and it's been on my to-read list for about 5 years now, or something like that. So it's ridiculous.
And it stars Stephen McHattie, Lisa Hooley, and it's directed by Bruce McDonald. And Tony Burgess is the guy that wrote the novel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about this little town in Ontario, Canada, and some strange things starts happening. People are starting to storm or riot at this one doctor's office, which I don't know, maybe the book explains that a little bit more, but they don't really explain it too much in the film. It's just that this phenomenon starts happening. So they start to riot, and Stephen McHattie, who plays Grant, what's his name? Grant Mazzy. He's like this shock jock radio personality who's been fired so many times, and he ends up in the little town of Pontypool. And of course, he sees blood in the water. He sees this as, shit, I'm doing the weather. I'm doing the local traffic. I'm doing school closings because I'm in fucking Canada, and that shit happens all the time. This is important. And so they have this one guy, what is it? Ken Leone, I think was his name in the film. And he sees all of this, and he calls into the radio show. And I got to be honest, I didn't know that if Stephen McHattie wanted to be a radio personality, he's got the fucking voice for it. Mm-hmm. Have you seen the film? You haven't?
Yes, I have seen Pontypool. Yes.
He's got the fucking voice.
Oh, no, he's great. Yeah.
It's like we should do this review in our radio voices. Let's do it. No,
I don't think it's going to work out well.
It probably won't. I mean, I'm already doing my radio voice.
I'm trying to recall what films I've seen him in because I recognize him. He's
been in a bunch of good stuff that we like.
I'm just trying to think of one of the titles though. I'm like blanking.
He was in Watchmen, played Hollis Mason. He was the friend to what's his face?
Well, you ever see an actor and in the back of your mind is like, yeah, I recognize him specifically from this one scene burned in my mind, and I can't think of it.
Well, he's in A History of Violence. He was one of the thugs in History of Violence with Ed Harris.
I recognize him from that, but that's not what's eating. That's not that image.
Wait a minute.
In my head.
Wait a minute. No, wasn't he the guy in the beginning of History of Violence that was robbing
Yeah, he was one of the robbers
store.
in the beginning.
Yeah, he was one of the robbers in the beginning. The hell, you're right. He has that face.
There's
where it's like I get what you're saying. It's like, yeah, he's in that one movie where he's unmistakable. And
it's bugging me. It's bugging me. I mean, he was in Shoot 'Em Up too, but that's not it.
No,
it's not it at all.
No.
And the problem is that he looks like
it's not even 300 either. I mean, he was just one of the crowd people.
No, but the problem is he looks a bit like Lance Henriksen.
He does, and he looks like that one creepy porno guy.
He doesn't look.
You know the guy.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
You know the fucking guy.
It's like he doesn't look enough like Lance Henriksen where you go, is that Lance Henriksen? But it is enough that where you go,
right,
that's not Lance Henriksen. But it occurs to you. It's like he's just got that much going.
He was in Basketball as the narrator. Huh.
Oh Jesus! Oh, there's that voice you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, what Pontypool is really just like a it's the one interesting.
He
thing
was
with
in Mantis.
The one interesting thing with zombie films, and this is kind of technically a zombie film, is that
or is it an infection film?
Well, fold them both together, however you want. I mean, but it's like it's a new spin on the idea of zombies, and somehow every year or two you get that new spin with a movie or two,
right?
Where they and this one successfully does it because it almost feels like it's not trying to do it; it just came up with an idea and did it.
Yeah, the main plot is that people are getting infected by words,
right?
And a certain word or trigger word causes the infection. And it's different for everybody. Even
the repetition of a word, and it scrambles the brain. It's like it's a verbal infection. It's an interesting concept, and there's probably some scientific basis behind it that cares.
Like one of the scenes in the film where Stephen McHattie says, when I was a kid, I used to repeat certain words all the time until they were incomprehensible, and I get that because I used to do that when I was a kid, too.
Say scuba.
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 I used to do it with the word milk. I remember that being the word I did a lot. Mm-hmm. Milk, milk, milk. Until it was to the point of where the word was unrecognizable.
Yeah, I think kind of everybody's done that at one point in their lives, one way or another. And I think that's why the film kind of resonates, where you can kind of buy the idea that language becomes gibberish, but and then it infects the brain, and the actual the concept becomes gibberish. It's a very well paced film, and this is the kind of film that doesn't work without great actors.
Oh yeah. Now, did you go all the way to the end credits and watch the scene that was at the very, very end?
I guess not.
Oh, okay. We could talk about that off air.
Yeah.
But I don't think it has anything to do with the movie.
Okay.
It almost, the way it reads like it's like Mammoth. That's how it reads. It almost reads like it was an excerpt from the novel that there was no place for it in the film.
Uh-huh.
So they did it and put it at the very, very end of the movie.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, definitely watch that end scene, and then we can talk about it even maybe next week or just even tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I love that. Great. I'm glad I would love to read the book, too. I got to catch up on my reading.
Yeah.
I've got a digital copy of it somewhere.
So basically, as far as words being the infecting people, they're holed up in this little radio station out in Pontypool, Canada. And one of my favorite parts of the film is when the doctor, the one that they're storming his office, he actually makes it to the radio station.
Yeah.
And I love his commentary when they're all behind the glass when zombies infected, start coming into the radio station. And he's like, almost, the only thing he was missing was a bag of popcorn during that scene, because that's how he played it. And it was great, because he's like, oh, I haven't seen this before. He's like, oh, okay, I know what's coming. This is what's going to happen. And he just starts delving into, different scenarios and what's going to happen and how they're infected. And he's going through his own mind how it even started and things of that nature. And I just love that whole scene with the doctor. He finally makes it in. When he's crawling through that window and they're like, what the fuck? I just thought the whole scene was great.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard to come up with. I'm trying to think of any other films that deal with that kind of like verbal. I mean, this film has less to do with zombie films and more with maybe like The Crazies or Impulse. People losing control. Even though it's not really that, they do become kind of zombified. They attack other people, things like this. So it's really more of zombie than that. But I don't know if there are many other films out there that really took this kind of approach. Books as well. So it is interesting.
After seeing it, I'm surprised it took me this long to get around to it.
Yeah, I had that experience with a film I just watched for the show tonight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was just like, oh, how come I didn't watch this 2 years ago? I know why, but
wow,
it's a unique film, and I think it holds. One of the reasons it holds your attention is that the concept is so original.
Yeah.
Compared to these other films, and I'm sure someone could think of one that I'm missing, but this kind of film doesn't come around too often. And for a locked room film, which is what it is, they're locked in they're in the radio station for the entire thing. It's a great film.
Well, and the thing is too, we already mentioned it too. The performances, the acting is really what excels it as well. It really pushes the envelope of this could have been a really shitty movie with a good concept had the acting been bad, But it was the other way around. Everything just worked together, and they're being, like you said, in a locked room pretty much the whole film. They do take, even though that's been done before, they do it. I can't even say they do it differently, but they just do it more efficiently.
Locked room films, it's really easy to do them wrong.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to do them well. And I've seen a lot in between, and this is one of the better ones.
Yeah.
I mean, hands down. But again, it is based on a novel too, so they had the framework, and I haven't read the book, so I don't know if the whole thing takes place in the radio station like the movie does. But regardless, they have that framework there. All they do, it just comes to a more visual standpoint because they have the story. You're not building, and I think it does make a difference sometimes. Whether you're adapting or whether you're building something from scratch. Because when you're building a horror film from scratch, or if you're writing it for the screen,
right,
cold, sometimes that taints the pool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're writing, you're writing what you want to have on the screen. Whereas when you get the book, say, okay, this is a great idea. How do we translate this to the screen? And and you're not going to add wacky shit just because it looks cool, unless you're a bad filmmaker. So I think that probably lent the restraint that this film has to the concept.
Right. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. So, I mean, that's pretty much the film in a nutshell. Do we want to move on to the next film, or do we want to delve a little deeper? Or could.
The thing is,
without giving things away.
You picked one that's so unique that there's really no other films to compare it to or, wrap up into it.
Yeah, I mean, I will talk about, just briefly, the things that I really enjoyed about it, other than the acting, is the fact that, like I mentioned before, Stephen Hattie he's got some serious fucking voice chops. Mm-hmm. He really could have been a DJ or a radio personality had he gone in that direction. He's got the voice for it. And he's so believable when he does it. You really, watching the film, you really believe that at some point in his life he could have done that for a living. Mm-hmm. He delivers it like... And the one scene that I love is when he's talking to the girl... what the hell was her name? He says her name over and over. Sydney, that's right. Sydney Breyer is alive, and he puts that in the voice recording, and they have it put it on repeat so that the zombies infected, they kind of move towards it because they move towards sound. And that was one of the things that they were trying to do to get out of the room, get it somewhere else in the building. And what I like is, and this is not giving anything away, I like the fact that they didn't harp on that Sydney Breyer is alive. Sydney Breyer is alive. And they made it a part of the plot or anything like that. You know, they didn't do that. But when you watch it, you're like, in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, that's going to be a thing. That's going to come up later, or they're going to use it to, you know, move the plot forward or something. And they didn't, and it was very smart. And I really enjoyed the fact that they did not do that. But the scene that he's talking to her, and she's talking about, listen, you got to take it down a notch. People just want to hear the weather, and they want to hear school closings, and they just want that. And he just starts to go in about how he hates winter. She's like, yeah, but everybody. He goes, not like me. and you generally believe when he's talking about it. It's like winter. It's a real fucking bummer for this guy. You know, the whole the solitude and the loneliness that he feels during winter times. Like, you get it when he delivers those lines. You get it, and it's just like you said, it's unique, and I'm glad that I did watch it.
And here, if you watch it, think of it not as its own film, but as a remake of talk radio.
You know, I was thinking of talk radio the whole time, and I was thinking of it the whole time I was watching it, and I'm like, yeah, I should watch talk radio again. I haven't seen it in a while.
It is a great film.
I love it. I mean, it's one of Oliver Stone's best.
And then you just watch talk radio and just imagine at one point, you know, that Eric Bogosian is attacked by people because of the words.
It's his words.
Yeah. He does the best words.
Yes. My kung fu's the best, baby.
Yeah.
The best words. I hire the best people. I have the best words. Dick.